Setting that. Good day, Rise listeners. We're back again with another episode, and we have a special guest with us today by the name of Refilwe Mphego. She's an executive at ENS, chairperson of the Cape Town Attorneys Association, and also a council member of the Legal Practice Council. I guess that is not the only thing on his CV, but I think I'll leave it there. To Refilwe, welcome and thank you for coming on Rise today.
Thank you so much
How
for
are you
having
doing?
me. I'm fine. I don't know about the special guest.
Well, everyone who comes on the show is a special
I'm a special
guest.
guest.
So, yeah, you are also
Wow.
special.
Okay. I
Yeah.
just never get used to that word, special guest, being referred to as a special guest. Even when I do talks and stuff, and someone says we have our keynote speaker or something, I'm just like, what?
Yeah. But anyways, if you could just briefly introduce yourself to the listeners, what you do and who you are.
Okay, so you've already said my name is Refilwe Mphego. I practice in the Western Cape. I came to the Western Cape at the age of 23. I'm now 35, which gives you an indication of how many years I've been in the Western Cape. But just to backtrack a little bit, I was born in a small town in well, our town was previously in Pumalanga, and then for some reason we got referred to as Limpopo, so there was some demarcation changes there. But I was born in Burgersfort, in Pumalanga, now Limpopo. So yeah, so and then I went to school there for, I mean, the bulk of my childhood, and until I was 18, I left to go to university in Pretoria, which was daunting because I mean I'd never lived in a big city. I still remember that feeling very well, of being in a big city and just being so scared
Yeah.
of like the cars that were moving around and the people that were just walking so fast and didn't greet everyone that they walked past. So I then went to University of Pretoria. I did my LLB there, and then I finished at the end of 2012. Yeah, 2012 December, finished with my course, and then 2013 then I then started looking for articles, which was a whole story on its own. I
Yeah.
don't know how much background you want me to share with, in relation to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically that's my story about like where I was born and how where I studied law, and then and then I ended up um, actually finding articles in the Western Cape, here in Cape Town, and I've never left. I've been here for 12 years. I've practiced here all my life. I mean, I've been a candidate attorney here and been an attorney now. Uh, this is my 10th year as an admitted attorney. So that's basically my story. But there's just one interesting aspect about this story that I want to share with you, and it's the story about like how I ended up getting articles in Western Cape.
Yeah.
Um, eh, I wasn't signed to any firm. Like I know people are signed in their third year, fourth year. So like when we finish school in December, they know where they're going in January. So that was not my story. I didn't know where I was going. I practically searched for articles all over the country, like wherever there was a relative or a friend. Um, I search for articles in those towns, like everywhere. If I knew someone in Durban and I saw a post, I would apply, knowing that okay, I've got a friend that would welcome me if I got articles in
Durban.
Durban or Pretoria, Johannesburg. I mean, those I've got a lot of family members there. So with Cape Town though, how I came to get articles was literally also coming here and knocking on doors. I remember very well the day I actually dropped my CV off at the firm that actually ended up hiring me for articles. I woke up and I took like a bunch of CVs and I walked from uh, up Villivanspoor Drive. There are a lot of law firms here. So, I would knock on law firms' doors and I would leave my CV. And then I left my CV at one firm at the Tiger Waterfront in Tiger Valley. And then that ultimately became the firm that hired me. And I've never looked back ever since.
So I'm going to have a follow-up on that shortly. But what I would like to ask you, because I think this forms an essential aspect of what I will ask you. What was young Refilwe like growing up, and what ultimately led you to choose law? What made you go to UP and pursue law?
I think when I was younger, I wasn't a very so I struggled a lot where I could speak in front of people. Like I was a deputy head girl at my school, and in order to get there, we actually had to make like speeches, like a campaign in front of the school. Um, so when I had to do like the speaking in front of people, I could do it, but then there was another side of me that was very shy and overthinking and not so confident and didn't believe in herself. But then again, there was another fire. I don't know what to call it because I had this fire as well that, says to me, you can do it, just get up there, believe in yourself. So I'm not sure like how those two could exist inside of me, like the shy person who was very self-critical, not so confident, and then there's this other person who's like, no, I can't do this, no man, I can do it, let me get up and do it myself. You know what, no one is coming to help me, let me do this, let me try my best, let me give it a shot, I won't die, just do it. So I think with law, it was exactly that. I thought, which career is actually going to help bring out the best version of myself? And I thought, okay, most of my friends went into medicine, some went into engineering, and I thought, you know what? I think because I like to interact with people, and I think I'd like to live out that passion of working with people from that point, as opposed to like being an engineer and working with machinery. Um, and when you're a doctor, you sort of work with patients. Uh, and then, so law would be the one thing that would allow me to actually work with seniors, juniors, like people from different backgrounds, different matters, different clients, and even different juniors that come into the team from different backgrounds, countries.
Yeah,
So yeah, so that's actually what I thought. If I studied law, it would allow me to do that.
yeah,
Most important, to interact with people.
yeah. And so now you are saying that you took a bunch of CVs and you went around, Cape Town, Tiger Waterfront, so forth. At that time, leaving university, having not secured articles, what was driving you to actually print out CVs? I mean, I think during your time you had to print them out and
Yes, we did.
submit them
Yeah.
physically.
Yes, we did. We didn't apply through links, and I'm sure I mean, there were places where that took email applications, but for me, because of how I grew up, I think you see your community, our parents, everyone gets up in the morning and does something. They get up and either you work in the garden, they do a spring cleaning, or they get up, they go to work. Like, it's either people are at work or they are working at a family function, or they are working around the house. You know this.
Yeah.
So it for me, it didn't feel right to say, okay, I've got this energy. I know I can secure articles, but then how do I do this without also feeling like I'm sending my CV and I'm sitting down waiting for a response? So, then I thought, the best thing I think for me is, let me just get up, go out there, let me knock on the door. Maybe someone will talk to me, maybe someone won't. Some places I got to speak to the directors, some places I got to speak to the office manager, who told me, oh, listen, we're not looking right now, but you know what, let's keep your CV. You never know, for, months down the line. And then so I just thought to myself, no, let me actually do what I know best. I'm familiar with just getting up in the morning, um, uh, you know, taking a shower, walking out of the door, going out there and chasing what I want, instead
Yeah.
of sitting at home sending 100 CVs. That didn't really feel right for me. So that's why I got, driven to go out there and actually search articles on 2 feet.
Yeah. And during your articles, what was that one, defining period? Some people say, okay, this is confirmation that I was supposed to do this. And some people will, experience something and that they'll never bounce back from. Learning from your own experience and your journey now being an executive, you can tell that there should have been something that was a defining moment then, that was confirmation that, okay, this is it and I'm doing this. Do you have that?
Yeah, you know what? In articles, ooh, there were many tears. Uh, yeah, during articles, there were many tears. There were more moments that had me questioning if this is what I should be doing. Then, I have to bring myself back. But listen, there were more moments, like, where you doubt yourself. I don't know whether it came from the fact that, even the firm that I did articles at, I was the only black professional. So, in other words, all the practitioners and the firm, directors, senior associates, candidate attorneys, were all not black people. They were white, and actually the directors were all white male. So that made me think to myself, oh my gosh, am I even in the right place here? Because I don't see anyone that looks like me. Literally the only black person practicing in this firm. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was probably myself, and two ladies. The tea lady and cleaner, and the one lady was a messenger. We were the black people in the firm. Uh, Other than that, no. So I had a lot of moments where I thought to myself, oh my gosh, am I even supposed to be here? It's very intimidating to be in rooms where there's no one that looks like you. And that's why I'm very big on, like, representation. Um, I'm telling you, yeah, it does something psychologically to you when you actually see someone that looks like you, um, in these spaces. But for me, I've had to be that person who's the only person, and and it wasn't easy, but you keep going, and some days there's a lot of tears, some days there's a lot of celebrations inside of you, um inside of myself, about I got through this day. and I'm proud of myself for this and this and that.
Yeah. And, navigating such a space, as you're saying, like there were many days where there were tears. What do you think kept you going, or what did keep you going? Finishing articles.
Yes. I think what kept me going is also the same thing that actually made me uncomfortable, and that is, what kept me going was I have to do this for other young girls that look like me. I have to stay in the space because I need them to come and find me here. I didn't find anyone. So yeah, that's what kept me going, to say, you know, I can't leave. Otherwise, when the next person comes into corporate in 2013, what will they find if I leave? So I had to, to sit and make it work. But also the passion for the law, and what the law actually had to bring, and the fact that law is also like a service-based profession.
Yeah,
You serve your country, you serve your clients, so, and you have to balance that out all the time. So, and we come from families where service is really the whole purpose of why we exist. Sometimes you think about service as, oh, is it really a burden? But no, actually, in where I grew up, in African communities, service is actually a privilege. So I thought, you know what, let me stay in this profession and be of service, and I think everything will fall into place.
yeah.
And it actually did.
Yeah. And seeing I've done some homework on you, seeing your LinkedIn, seeing the engagements that you take on, seeing the initiatives that you're part of, and like we mentioned earlier on, that you are chairperson of the Cape Town Attorneys Association. And while still, having a role as an executive, one will ask you, how do you do it? And I believe you're a mom as well.
Yeah.
How do you do it? How do you manage, with all these roles and tasks and responsibilities?
Yeah. Geez. As I said, we know what the thing about it is this. So yes, we're in the business of law, of servicing clients, which is great and gives us a lot of fulfillment, and we are happy when we achieve uh, great results for clients. But there's also an aspect of, I could never do anything that only involves my own personal benefit. There has to be some sort of service that you give back, and there has to be something that you're doing for the greater community. And I think that just comes with how I grew up. You know how it is. If there's someone that you can be of assistance to, or if there's a gap where you see, okay, listen, I could actually, in my not, I'm not going to say spare time, because I don't think we have spare time. So if I divide up my time, I could be a practitioner in a big law firm, and also do other work in the profession, like the Cape Town Attorneys Association. There are great projects and ideas that we come up with, and it gives, personally, it gives me a lot of fulfillment, to keep going and keep doing what I do, because we've achieved so much. Not everything is centered around billables. Those are important. We're in, it's the core of our business, but I think we could still give our time to other work, like the Cape Town Attorneys Association, and the LPC, having those meetings, sitting down, tackling issues, impactful discussions, and actually assisting your country, your profession, to get somewhere, through skills and knowledge that that you have to bring. So that's sort of what keeps me going. And also, there's so many hours in a day that you just have to be conscious about. You know what? This is how my day is going to be split up. Of course, sometimes there are urgent things that come up, but most days you can sort of plan around meetings and saying, okay, today I'm giving from this time to this time, I'm dedicating this to that. On a Saturday, I'm going to catch up on all CTAA work and LPC work, and then I will go out with my family. So, but I think the fulfillment that comes with also service, being of service to the profession, is also what keeps me personally going.
Yeah. And one can imagine stepping into these roles which come with great responsibility. You did mention that the young Refilwe was, caught between going for it and also
Mhm.
being so shy about things.
Yeah.
There's one thing in the professional space which I'm very passionate with, like trying to understand, and that is imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
which has been something that has also helped me back in many things that I've come across. Have you ever, experienced this? And when you do experience it, like, what do you do?
Yeah, imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, we've had so many discussions of this over the years as women, as young people, male, female, young, old. Um, Listen, sometimes we all have a little bit of anxiety about, wow, do I really belong in this space? um and it's completely normal. So I've taken this imposter syndrome thing, and I've said to myself, okay, I think it's normal to sometimes feel like, oh my gosh, you know am I cut out for this? Do I belong in this space? Do I know enough? I think it's normal for us to sometimes think like that. But what works for me is reminding myself, it cannot be that I've been in law firms for 12 years and I haven't picked up anything along the way.
yeah,
Like, there's a lot that I've picked up, related to what I do now and not related to what I do now. There has to be something that I've learned over the years. I've met a lot of people who were senior to me that I can say, oh, you know what? Actually, I learned a good leadership trait from this guy. I learned how to tackle letters of demand from this guy. I've learned how to prepare for trial from this person. So over the 12 years, I remind myself all the time that, even someone learns something in a week. Like, there has to be something that you learn in a week that you have to, say to yourself, no, man, I do know something about this. And I actually shouldn't feel like an imposter speaking about this, because I have actually, there's some things that I've picked up over the past 7 days about this particular issue. So it's about reminding ourselves and actually looking back and thinking, oh my gosh, just remembering, even walking down, driving down some of the streets. Some days when I go to the office, I think to myself, oh my gosh, I remember driving down this N1 at the age of 23. I didn't know how to drive properly. I just got my license in July. And I'm like, look at me now. So how could I ever think that I'm an imposter? Because even with, it goes back to your career. You've been doing this, you know, even as a candidate attorney, you are not who you were on the first day of your articles. A month in, you know something.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, don't ever feel like you're an imposter. Oh, maybe I don't know enough about this. Yeah, and also, so what if you don't know something? You'd watch on the news, politicians, presidents, they don't know everything, they don't have everything figured out, but we are moving, our country is moving.
Yeah.
The shops are open. We're not in
Yeah.
a war. Life is moving. The economy, the JSE is continuing. I don't know what the rand is to the dollar, but life is going on,
Yeah.
even with people that don't know everything. So we should always remind ourselves it's normal to feel like, okay, I'm anxious about this. Oh my gosh. Oh Lord, are you asking me a question? Do I know the answers to this? And then just remind yourself, okay, no, wait. And you can actually keep reminding yourself, oh no, in my experience as a candidate attorney over the past 6 months, this is what I think, this is what I've learned, as a law student, the past 4 years, this is what I think, this is this, but I'm still in practice trying to grapple with this from a practice perspective. But, as a law student, this is what I know, this is what I've learned. No one expects, also, I've learned that no one expects a person to know everything, because
True.
I think sometimes you also have an expectation of when someone asks you a question, they expect you to know something. You actually you can't as well. You can't
Yeah.
know everything. There are some people that are so brilliant that they do, and great for them. But I don't think I think we overthink sometimes, which I struggle with a lot. And I also still have a little personal struggle. Yesterday, I was in the same position where I thought, oh my gosh, how would they consider me? Me? Asking me, wow, okay, why, who am I? And I actually then had to think to myself, oh no, wait, let's just backtrack here. I've been in Cape Town. I've been in these Cape Town streets for 12 years, meeting people, you know,
Yeah.
making the right connections, building my network. So actually, I'm not surprised that this is actually happening now in
Anyway,
my 10th year post articles. Yeah.
yeah. And following with that question on imposter syndrome, I've noticed a trend amongst, and I thought this is a young people's thing, right? That is people who are doing articles. I've noticed that lawyers, professionals, they are one, scared of making mistakes, and two, bouncing back from failure, like messing up. I can think of the mess ups I've made in my articles journey, where I thought, okay, the world is ending, that's it. But how as a seasoned lawyer that has, who is now, who has been an attorney for 10 years, what have you learned about bouncing back from failure? One, two, also not being so hard on yourself when you have made a mistake.
Hmm. Very important question. And sure. Um, they said I've also messed up, but I think my big mess up was probably maybe like that I can remember that, what, this is actually a mess. But no one lost money. It wasn't like a client lost billions.
Yeah.
No one died. First of all, no one died.
Mm.
Thank the Lord. But and then no one lost money from this mess. And I'm sure you, with your own mistakes, you can also say that. You can say, actually, no one
That,
died and no one lost money. So, and just also just remember that, and just say, oh, phew, at least, and most of the time, in fact, all of the times that I can think of everyone around me making a mess, it was never a mess that we couldn't fix. Um, we tend to overthink, and I think the overthinking comes from the fact that there are seniors that you are nervous about disappointing,
Yeah.
and you don't know how they're going to react. I think that's where we struggle. Not that we don't, the issue isn't necessarily really the mistake. It's about, oh my gosh, my senior, how is it going to take, am I going to lose my job? That's what keeps you awake at night, not
Yeah.
the actual mistake, because the mistake most of the time is fixable. So I think what we should always, and what I did for myself, is always remember, um, this is something that we can fix. Um, no one is dead, no one lost money.
Yeah.
And what I personally do is, when I fall, allow yourself to fall down and fall flat today when you've made the mistake. And then take it in, because you really have to. You have to take it in and be like, okay, this is a mess. And then tomorrow, though, tomorrow is a new day of sorting this out. Or even if it's 2 hours later or 5 minutes later, like, just take it in and be like, okay, this is a mess. Drink a glass of water, or if it's something that we're going to deal with tomorrow, you can cry about it that day. You cry all you want. But tomorrow when you wake up and you actually get ready for work, you we need to take, you need to take the stance that, now, today is the day that I'm going to show this, that this is not bigger than me. I know what I'm doing. And yes, the people make mistakes, but you must always almost challenge this mistake that you've made and be like, you know what, today is the day that I'm actually going to prove myself. Never mind your senior, you have to prove to yourself that I'm going to fix this. That's what kept me going. Because with the mistakes that I fall flat on, we sort them out, and then even your senior will be like, oh, okay, I'm actually, wow, I'm proud of you for your spirit and how you actually tackle this. And then you move on from those mistakes, like, and I'm talking like serious mistakes,
Yeah.
um, that you think could lead to you losing your job.
Yeah.
So it's always to remember that you can take it in and cry and frown about it, but remind yourself, and always have, that fire inside of you that says, listen, I didn't leave Beggars to come here and play games. I know what I'm capable of.
Okay.
So today's the day we sort it out.
And I think I totally agree with you on that point that it's not about the mistake, but rather you're like, oh, my reputation, like this
Yes.
is such a stupid mistake. And now how will these people look at me?
Perceive you. Yeah.
Yeah, how will
People's
they
perception
perceive?
of you.
Yeah. And like moving forward, you have done so much, for the advancement of women in the profession. And you're very unapologetic about what you want to like creating, a room for other upcoming women. What would you like to say to that, doubtful young lady at UP
Mm.
somewhere who is into law or any other career and
Yeah.
they just don't have it in them? They don't believe that they are capable of advancing in their careers because they are women and also because that they're black and they come from disadvantaged background.
Yeah. And this is what I wish someone had told me as a young person, you know, because yeah, we didn't really have this back in the day. I'm trying to think, like 2009 when I went to university, like I'm trying to think of any words of wisdom, and nothing sticks out to me. Like, who
Yeah.
told me this? Um, so, for the young person in 2025, um, who is at University of Pretoria, much like me, probably comes also from, back where I come from. And they are still trying to navigate the big city life and whether they belong there and, should they be doing law? Are they going to make it in law? What I want to say to that young girl is, today in 2025, the world is also not the same as it was in 2012 when I finished my degree in December. Um, I'm seeing more and more women taking up a lot of space in the profession. I'm seeing a lot of women um, succeeding. I'm seeing a lot of women taking up leadership positions. So for that young girl, and it doesn't even actually have to start with corporate or being a lawyer. If we look around, we've since had how many black Miss Universe? Is it Miss Universe or Miss World? We've had Zozi in 2019. Before that, I can't remember, but wasn't there another one from an African country? I can't remember. But, all those are some things that we should actually take in as women and hold on to them and actually realize that, it doesn't matter where I come from. Women are doing it. We've reached the conversation now is about like there are more and more people that look like you know, in these spaces, also in the profession. The Chief Justice is from the Eastern Cape. She's a black woman. The Judge President, the Judge President of the Western Cape High Court is a black woman. And actually, funny, I was. She was addressing us at some event, and I also got to speak, and I was telling her that in 2013, when I was doing my articles and I was in court with a advocate, uh, she was the judge that heard my first matter, and it was so reassuring to see a black woman, a black face on the bench, like hearing our matter. Then, as a young lawyer, I also thought, oh my goodness, I could also one day get there. And it
Yeah.
goes back to the whole thing about representation.
Yeah.
So there's more and more representation, and the more the more we take up these positions, the more we also take up, CTAA, LPC, the more we stay in these leadership positions, the more young people also see that you can be black, you can be a good leader, you can make it in this business. So that you should actually not feel any limit, because we're in 2025 and there's a lot of representation out there for these young women that they can take and be like, oh my goodness, the Chief Justice, for crying out loud, is a
Yeah.
black woman. What stops me from some rural town, wherever, or even a rural area where there's no much happening,
Winning.
to dream big, and not only to dream but to work towards that. And it's what the topic of representation is an important one, because it also keeps that fire inside of you. There's a lot of pride in seeing someone that looks like you doing something amazing. It lights up your own fire. Like, it really, really does matter, which is why transformation is also very important, because once you see, the transformation agenda being realized in a lot of spaces, and other young girls get to see black women leaders, they also get that fire lit inside of them. So what I'd say to those young girls is, please go out there, look at what other black women have done in 2025, look at them and study their history.
Yeah.
you know Take that and be like, there's I can also do it. I can also be a director one day, or I can be a judge one day, or an advocate or whatever, because right now in 2025 there's so much on social media, that's going around that you can pick up and be like, oh my goodness, this is another a young black person that's done this, trending on TikTok or on Twitter or whatever, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
And talking about representation and transformation, you are currently the chairperson of the CTAA. What would you like with your team? I know that you are a team leader. What would you like to see being realized
Mm.
in our space, with respect to all that we are trying to tackle, as professionals in general?
Yeah, so I can't speak for the CTAA right now
Yeah,
because
as
they're
as
an
as you.
expo. Yeah, but I like the way that I like what I'm seeing on LinkedIn. I mean, there's a lot of lovely content on LinkedIn, even on Instagram, that just gives me also the reassurance that, you know what, as a country we are moving into the right direction, but also there's a particular responsibility that comes with that, and that is, I'm big on being conscious about the kind of leadership we need in order to achieve more in the profession. So we actually need to think about the kind of leaders that we want, or the kind of leaders that we want to be in the profession, in order to achieve what you've just said now about everything that we want to achieve. We probably could, um, provided we've got the right leaders who are thinking the right things, and who are going to take us into the right direction. And I think that's something that also some of us who have been attorneys for 10 years, we really need to think about those things.
Yeah. And as we're about to close,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to ask you, what would you say to the young Refilwe who had not left to UP yet, who is now, at the top of, one of the biggest law firms, on the continent? What would you say to that young girl right now?
Geez, I haven't thought about that. Probably, geez, 18-year-old me, 2008. Um, I would say to that girl that always look for people that will light up the fire inside of you. Um, and that when I say people, I mean everywhere across. It's not race based, it's nothing related to that, because even the first person that believed in me enough to give me an opportunity for articles wasn't necessarily black. Um, but I've met a lot of incredible people along the way, and I wish I had looked for more of those people when I was younger. Then maybe I would have believed in myself more if I had people that always, recharge that fire inside of me. So I'd really say that young girl, please hold on to people that are going to light up your fire, whether you know them or not. But if there's someone that you follow that's going to light up your fire, the fire inside of you, and actually make you believe in yourself, I think gravitate towards those people. That's what I actually would tell 18-year-old me.
Yeah. And when it comes to us trying to go for the things that we want to go for, I've noticed that you're a go-getter. You know,
Yes.
you don't stop at anything.
No, I don't. I don't. And that I can actually tell you now. I actually I'm a person who will get up and go out there and try to find a solution to my problems.
Yeah.
Or, I will go there, I'll go out there and try to get it. That's who I am.
Yeah. And this will be very funny, but I'll ask it anyway. So, since it's funny because in the profession you are my senior. So I wanted to ask you, where do you see yourself in the next 10 to 15 years? What's on the horizon for you so that we can keep you accountable to it when
You
you
know,
come back
do
on
you
the
know what?
ground?
That question, because listen, not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with writing down your goals and telling the universe what you want, but that question of where do I want to see myself, I find that what works for me is doing my best now, and then the universe slowly taking me into the direction that I need to go into.
True.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So at the moment, I'm where I am as a senior to people in my team, people in the firm. I mean, I also have seniors, but I'm also quite senior to some people in the firm. I try to be the leader that I want to see in the world. That's number one. The leader that I wish I had growing up, the person that I wish I had growing up, I am that person for other people.
Yeah.
The the push, the connections that I wish I had growing up, I try to become that for the younger people that
Yeah.
I surround myself with, or that surround themselves with me.
Yeah.
So that then with work, I also in my career, I try to give it my all where I am right now, and then I sort of see that the more I do that, the more I give it my best shot, um, then the universe tends to give, it sort of, the universe directs me to the path that I actually need for my life. It's a weird, like, spiritual thing, but it's almost like if I'm to become, geez, one day, if you end up at the bench, but it's all because of what you do as an attorney. You do
Yeah.
your best, you
Yeah.
know. Um, you tackle whatever you can with what you have at the moment. You make an impact. It's like you involve yourself in women empowerment initiatives. You do your best to bring impactful change in the profession, and then I think then the universe will, take you
Yeah.
into the direction that you need to go. Yeah.
And that's an excellent, approach to it because I've recently learned that, it's either you'll find someone who is living in the past, so being a prisoner of their past, or you'll find someone who is, living so much into the future.
Future.
And that then causes a lot of, anxiety and unnecessary stress. And in living both in the future and in the present, you then forget to live in the present
Yes.
because you're so fixated on the future and the past.
In the past, yeah.
So that is a great thing to do. And I think it's something that I've had to do with doing articles, taking
Yes.
control of today. not what's
Yes,
gonna happen tomorrow, not what I messed up yesterday. So yeah, thank you so much for coming onto the
yes,
podcast. You really inspire a lot of us. When I first saw you, I remember the day, and I was like,
we were in Santon, right?
yeah, now we were in Sentin. I was like, okay, this lady is funny. So I ask I asked the guy next to me, who is it? Because I learned one thing. I treat people the same. So
Yes.
I don't want to underestimate people. Can't this is the CEO of us. So I asked the guy sitting next to me, who is that lady? It's like it's Refilwe Mphego. I'm like, oh, okay. She looks very familiar, only to find out that you are a LinkedIn
Yeah,
connection.
yes, because you said to me that night, no, I already follow you on LinkedIn. Yes,
Yes.
when you try to follow me that same evening, you realize that you actually already follow me. Yeah.
Follow, yeah. So I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I'm very inspired by the work that you do, by the kind of lawyer that you are, and I can only imagine what more you're going to do for the profession and for South Africa. So
Yeah.
from our side, please keep shining. Don't, don't. What did you say earlier on? You must always look for people that will light up
Yeah, 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 yeah.
the
People
fires
that will
inside
light
of
up your
us.
fire. Because
So,
there's a lot of for you guys now. I mean, there's a lot of people that you can search on the internet and you can see on your LinkedIn and on your Instagram,
yes,
and
yes,
those people are there to light up your fire. Social media is not just for laughs. It's
yeah,
You can actually use it as a tool to actually get somewhere.
somewhere. Yeah,
Mm.
no, thank you so much. Any parting words, something you'd like to say to the listeners as we close this episode?
Yes, for your listeners, I just want to say that, especially because your podcast is based on people that work in the corporate world in South Africa, my parting remarks would be we should always be mindful of the kind of leaders that we want to be for our society. Um, we practice in a very difficult space, and I just want us to be mindful of the kind of leaders that we want to be. For the juniors that join the corporate world, please think about that. Just because no one was there for us back then doesn't mean it has to continue. We have to be the leaders that we want to see in the world.
Thank you for those words. And thank you for coming on the podcast. To the podcast listeners, please do like, share, subscribe. The more you engage with such episodes, the more we can bring people like Refilwe to actually ignite our spark and help us in our own individual journeys, who are such an inspiration to us. So Refilwe, thank you so much for
Thank you very
coming
much.
on the show. And
Thank you for
yeah,
having me.
we wish you all the best.